Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was a musician who shaped the course of classical music as we know it. As a man who was capable of playing multiple instruments, he composed hundreds of works that included sonatas, symphonies, masses, chamber music, concertos, and operas. But how did he come to be remembered throughout history? In today's video, we are going to have a look at the exciting life story of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, one of the greatest composers in our history. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart was born on January 27, 1756, in Salzburg, Austria. He was the son of Leopold and Anna Maria Pertl Mozart. By that time, Mozart's father, Leopold, was a successful composer, violinist, and assistant concertmaster at the Salzburg court. Anna Maria Pertl, the mother, who was from a middle-class family of local community leaders. Mozart had a sister, Maria Anna, who was later nicknamed Nannerl. With the encouragement and guidance of their father, Mozart and his sister were introduced to music at an early age. Mozart started imitating how his sister played the piano when he was 3 years old and had a deep understanding of chords, tonality, and tempo. When his father saw it, he introduced other instruments to small Wolfgang. Leopold was determined to teach his children. He would make the lessons fun for them and at the same time insist on a strong ethic and perfection. But both kids had no problem excelling at it. When the father realized their special talents, he spent most of his time teaching them music and other subjects. It did not take so long for Mozart to show signs of excelling more than his father because at age 5, he had already made his first composition. He showed great ability on the harpsichord and the violin. Soon after, he started playing the piano, organ, and viola. In what was to become the first of several European tours, Mozart's father took Nannerl, who was 11 at the time, and Mozart, who was 6 years old, to the court of Bavaria in Munich. This was in 1762. From here, the siblings traveled to the courts of Paris, London, The Hague, and Zurich, where they performed as child prodigies. As they were traveling, Mozart met accomplished musicians and became familiar with their works. One of the musicians had a strong influence on Mozart was Johann Christian Bach, the youngest son of Johann Sebastian Bach. The trips were not easy, as they had to travel in primitive conditions and wait for invitations and reimbursements from the nobility. In December 1769, Mozart, 13 years old, left for Italy with his father. By then, Nannerl's professional music career had ended because she was nearing marriageable age. According to customs at the time, she was no longer allowed to show her artistic talent in public. Mozart's Italian tour was longer, as it went from 1769 to 1771. Leopold wanted to display his son's abilities as a performer and composer at as many concerts as possible. While they were in Rome, Mozart heard Gregorio Allegri's Miserere being played once in the Sistine Chapel. He then wrote it all out of memory, only returning to correct a few small errors. Mozart also wrote a new opera, Mitridate, Re di Ponto, for the court of Milan. He received other commissions, and on subsequent trips to Italy, he wrote 2 other operas, Ascanio in Alba in 1771 and Lucio Silla in 1772. Mozart and his father returned in March 1773. By then, his father's benefactor, Archbishop von Strattenbach, had passed away and was succeeded by Hieronymus von Colloredo. The new archbishop chose a young Mozart to be the assistant concertmaster with a small salary. By then, Mozart could work in different musical genres and compose symphonies, string quartets, sonatas, and even serenades. He also became passionate about violin concertos, producing the only 5 that he has ever written. In 1776, he redirected his efforts to piano concertos, which culminated in the Piano Concerto No. 9 in E-flat major. It was in early 1777, and Mozart had just turned 21. Even with his successful compositions, Mozart became discontented with being the assistant concertmaster and confined to Salzburg. He believed that he could do more, just not there. Mozart would complain constantly, making the archbishop impatient. Mozart went to find better employment in August 1777. Mozart's mother, Anna Maria, had to accompany Mozart on his quest because the archbishop refused Leopold to travel. Anna and Mozart went to the cities of Mannheim, Paris, and Munich. Mozart had a lot of promising employment positions, but he didn't get any of them. He would pawn most of his valuable items to pay for his travel and living expenses. The lowest point on this trip was when the mother fell ill and later passed away on July 3, 1778. On hearing about his wife's death, Leopold negotiated a better position for his son as a court organist in Salzburg. Wolfgang returned soon after. In Salzburg in 1779, Mozart produced a series of church works, including the Coronation Mass. He then composed another opera for Munich in 1781. During the same year, he was summoned by the Archbishop of Vienna to attend the accession of Joseph II to the Austrian throne. But with Mozart being treated like a mere servant, he was not pleased, and after a quarrel, he resigned from his post. After this, Mozart decided to become a performer and composer in Vienna. All the while he lived with his friends at the home of Fridolin Weber. While in Vienna, Mozart taught students, composed music for publication, and performed in several concerts. He would also write an opera, The Abduction from the Seraglio. In 1781, there were rumors of Mozart wanting to marry Fridolin Weber's daughter, Constanze. Even though his father disapproved of it, Mozart was asking for his father's blessings by December. Mozart was committed to marrying Constanze because he loved her, and her mother encouraged it. They married on August 4, 1782. They had 6 children, but only 2 survived infancy. As 1783 began, Mozart was amazed by the work of Bach and George Frederick Handel. This led him to make several compositions in the Baroque style, influencing his later compositions, such as passages in The Magic Flute and the finale of Symphony No. 41. This was also the time he wrote one of his famous pieces, the Turkish March. During this time, he made great friends with Joseph Haydn, and the two would perform impromptu concerts with string quartets whenever Haydn was in Vienna. From 1782 to 1785, Mozart composed 6 quartets dedicated to Haydn. The Abduction from the Seraglio made Mozart famous across Europe. With what he was getting from the concerts and publishing, he and his family enjoyed a lavish lifestyle. They lived in an exclusive apartment building in Vienna, sent Karl Thomas to an extensive boarding school, and even kept servants. In 1783, Mozart and Constanze visited Mozart's father and sister in Salzburg, which inspired Mozart to start writing a Mass in C minor. He only completed the first 2 sections, Kyrie and Gloria. Mozart then decided to be a Freemason in 1784. Freemasonry also became a strong influence on Mozart's music, as he was highly regarded in the Freemason community. From 1782 to 1785, Mozart would present 3 to 4 new piano concertos in each season. Since theater space for rent was hard to come by in Vienna, he would perform in large rooms, in apartment buildings, and in ballroom and cheap restaurants. In 1784, during one 5-week period, he performed in 22 concerts. The concerts were very well attended. Mozart began facing financial difficulties in the mid-1780s, so he came up with the idea of earning a more stable income through court appointments. However, it proved really hard since the court preferred Italian composers and the influence of Kapellmeister Antonio Salieri. Salieri ended up being Mozart's greatest professional rival. In 1785, Mozart collaborated with the Venetian composer and poet Lorenzo da Ponte on the opera The Marriage of Figaro. They did another opera, Don Giovanni, which premiered in 1787. Later, in December 1787, Mozart was appointed by Joseph II as his chamber composer. It was a post with low pay as Mozart only composed dances for annual balls. By the end of the 1780s, Mozart would perform less and his income would shrink. So in mid-1788, in an attempt to lower living costs, Mozart moved his family to Alsergrund. But this only increased the living expenses even more. He would borrow money from his friends, which he would pay back. During this period, he wrote his last 3 symphonies and the last 3 Da Ponte operas. When Mozart was in his mid-30s, he had a period of great music. His most admired works, the opera The Magic Flute, the final piano concerto in B-flat, the clarinet concerto in A major, and the unfinished Requiem, were written during this time. However, his mental and physical health began deteriorating as he passed away on December 5th, 1791, at only 35 years old. The cause of his death was unknown. He was then buried in a common grave. Afterward, Constanza would hold memorial concerts for Mozart, which would help her gain some financial security. Mozart is remembered as one of the greatest composers of classical music. Thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like and subscribe.